and on Sunday Politics on Channels TV, we create the impact and setting the tone for national discourse. More and more Nigerians have the opportunity to bear their minds on issues affecting them. The mic is on, and you can always have it. Since the indigenous people of Biafra, Ipob ordered the first sit at home in 2021, precisely in August, the order has remained sacrosanct in that region, in the southeast region, with the group enforcing it with high-handedness in most of the times and some kind of violence. Shops, markets, banks, and other commercial activities are always grounded on Mondays, a reality that the people have had to cope with for years, and they have to live with that reality. Nigerian finished a member of the Ipob leadership, Simon Ekpa, a name attached to brutal enforcement, seemed to be wielding a lot of power. Interestingly, he's doing it remotely. He's not on the ground in Nigeria physically. Governors in the southeast region have made several unsuccessful attempts to lift the siege. The federal government hasn't also made any notable success in containing the situation. We saw the escalation in the past few days in places like Ebonyi, Enugu, and some parts of Anambra State. Now, with President Tinubu in the saddle, activities of the separatist group continue. I mean, obvious human rights abuses are seen in some of the disturbing videos that have been circulated. Now, how long can a region's commercial activities be grounded for a day or more in a week? What should be the president's approach to this critical and sensitive crisis raging in the southeast region? What should he do differently? These are some of the issues that we're bringing to bear tonight. And there are constitutional pathways out of this complex situation. Do you think there are legal ways in which these issues can be approached? Tonight, we'll be hearing from an expert, and he will be sharing his views on. He is an Igbo man from the southeast region. He has his experience as a former British police officer, and he's a security consultant.
Thank you for joining us on this edition of Mike
in Nigeria, and we'll be hearing some of these views right here on the podcast. But I'd like us to approach these in a different way on this podcast today, and that is, I wanted to know what other people feel. If you're living in the southeast region of the country, I would like to know your views. I would like to know what exactly is going on. Give us your the feel out of what is happening on the ground, and let us know what is going on the ground, because the feeling is now that we have a new government on the ground. I remember speaking with a guest on Politics Today on Friday on Channels TV, who was saying that there's a need to negotiate with repentant bandits, and it was making comparison to what happened in the Niger Delta region with the former president Yaradua, who gave some amnesty to the Niger Delta agitators. But I would like to listen to one or two persons to get your view on what is going on. If you are willing to tell us your experience, one or two persons from if you are living in the southeast, or if you have a direct experience of what is going on, I would like to know. If you can signify on the Twitter Spaces, I would like to get you in, and let's get your view. Then we'll bring the expert in to give us his view. I'm waiting for one or two persons to let us know whatever, if you're living in Enugu State or Ebonyi, Anambra State, Abia State, or wherever in the southeast region, and you've had a direct contact or impact with the activities of IPOP, and you've seen the sit-at-home order play out in your very eyes, I would like to know. So I have the very first person is at Fact NIG. Fact NIG, let us hear your view. What is your own experience in this situation?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Ashil. I'm very happy to be here speaking with you. This is my first time. I have been following your program on politics today. I never missed it since 2020 or so. And this program, since you started it, I've always been a listener. Thanks for this opportunity. Now, I greet my fellow listener. My name is Olatunde. I based in Anambra State. I serve here in towards the year 20 towards the end of year 2020, and I reside here. And I think this sit at home issue started sometime around 2021. And when they said we shouldn't go out again on Monday, I was a youth corper then. It started with the there was a directive that they gave that we coppers should not wear our uniforms. That Ipobs are going to be attacking coppers, or some of them are going to be dressing like a copper just to attack the community. So that was how it started, and before you know what was happening, everywhere became troubled.
So
And
on a typical sit at home day, what happens?
on a typical sit at home day, there are hot spots. There are places that are hot spots. Like in my own area, I reside in Oka, that's the state capital. Initially, it used to be everywhere used to be initially everywhere used to be dried, but at this moment we do go out, though activities um are not at usual days. You see people close their shops, market opens, the popular Ekoka market opens, people go out. I go to the office. I work with a CBT center, with something related to jam. So I do go to the office, but people don't come. Students don't come to the office.
Do banks open? Do banks open? You said
No,
that
no,
yeah.
no,
Banks do not open
no.
on Mondays.
Bank
What
not
about
open up
private?
to now.
What about private offices, business, other private businesses? Do they open?
It's only if you have the mind to open, you open. But most people don't open.
All
But
right.
some shops open because relatively activities goes on. Like people work. We've gotten the instruction that we should start coming out, and people comes out to
Okay.
to do
Quickly.
their
Yeah.
business.
I wanted to get a feeler. You are from Anambra State. Let me get one or two more persons. Let's listen to Onyedika.
No, I'm not from Anambra State.
No, you
I'm
say you
from
reside in Anambra State. Yeah. You
yes.
live there.
I thought you wanted to ask me about my experience in the recent attack because there was
Oh, was there an
an
attack?
attack.
Please go ahead. Quickly tell us.
Yes, there was this chaos that happens yesterday. It even happens close to my office. Like we were told that there will be 10 days sit at home. That is from July 1st to July 10th. So this Friday, it was a serious one because I around that Amobia, a popular Amobia Express
Mhm.
junction. Everybody we went out normally, but we observed that the road was county. Business activities was not going on. Then at a point there was an attack. We began to hear shooting around that spot, and everybody began to run. Shops began to close and all that. We came out what happened, and we discovered that schools begin to close and told their children, their students to go home. So later in the day, I have some videos on my this thing. I heard that in Igbariam, that is the Anambra State University, that those people passed in black spot, but we cannot identify if they are police or because there is this Anambra vigilante group who dresses like they cover their nose, cover their eyes. You don't even differentiate them from terrorists. You understand? So sometimes when they pass with private cars, you won't know. You begin to run. So it causes a lot of chaos. And there was also an attack in Onitsha, a warning in Onitsha that also caused a chaos and people began to run. So
All right.
naturally now, everywhere is just scared. Even
All
today,
right.
we couldn't go out. Nobody goes out.
Today is Saturday. All right. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I appreciate. I want this initial reaction so that when we bring in our guest tonight is very familiar with Anambra State. So when you're talking, he's nodding his head and is very much in the know of what you're talking about. Let me bring in maybe one or two more persons. I'd like to know your experience, what you saw, what happened. Onyedika at Onyedika Agbo on Twitter If you are ready, you have the mic and it's on.
Okay, thank you very much. I happy this conversation is going on. The IPOB agitation and the sit at home order has become a menace. I will acknowledge that the first time when we were usually doing it for remembrance of the fallen Biafran heroes, I used to observe it. And as a regular radio analyst, I kicked against the description of Ipob. But as the sit at home started getting out of hand, they started being turned into caricature and child's play, that those who issue this order will not mind that the poorest of the poor, who will not eat except they go out on a daily basis, would sit at home for more than a day. And it's becoming so dangerous because as a community leader, there are some cases that haven't even shown up on the social media. One was a woman who was pregnant, and on the day of the sit at home, fear couldn't tell, out of fear, they couldn't transport the woman to a hospital because even the people that were approached for their cars were all scared. That was immediately after an incident of a shootout and people were killed. A man was killed in his bus at Coal Camp. So people were afraid, resorted to praying. Eventually, the woman and the pregnancy, the woman passed on. There are countless stories, if I want to recount those I know personally, and the experience they've had because of the fear. The thing turned from an affair of people who wants to express civil disobedience and in memories of the fallen heroes to terror, where people will have so serious need. Like this recent one where they say there's going to be 1 week, some people are saying it's 10 days. It was immediately after the 2-day holidays of the Salah. So a lot of people have not been able to sort out a lot of official issues because you don't know what you're going to be faced against. In Enugu State, where I stay, the governor has said, okay, I want to interface with the federal government to ask them to release your leader. But please, let's return to offices and go to work. Oh, that was when EPA now said, oh, how dare you, they sit at home. In fact, after this 1 week, they said they're going to declare another one that is 1 week. So currently, people are so scared and terrified because you don't know. Yeah, sometimes people who are not IPOB use the opportunity to come out and do the shootout. But as we speak now, we still know people to engage, to act, assume we. Hello?
Go ahead, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. No person. The host might
All right. Thank you so much. Let me take one more person. And then we'll bring our guest speaker into. And this is Hammer of God. Hammer of God at Hammer of God on Twitter. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. I'm here. I'm going to be speaking on behalf of the people of Biafra. Unfortunately, there are lots of disinformation out there, and that's really raking in some fake news about IPOB. First and foremost, the very first time a sit-at-home was declared by IPOB was in 2019 by the leader of indigenous people of Biafra, which was to, ask people to sit at home to honor our heroes and heroines. That was the only time, the first time, because usually in our farm, we would come out and just go around, sensitize people, and you have security forces going after innocent people because they're wearing insignia of Biafra and waving flags. And so we said, instead of putting people's life at risk and the police, military, and their security architecture killing innocent people, it is better we sit at home. And that was when we introduced sit at home for the first time. This was in 2019, on May 30th. Nnamdi at the time was in the United States. So we got a very sound feedback, which was successful. Nobody was killed. Nobody died. So we thought, okay, it would be a nice tool for us to use to propagate our agitation. And this is just a honest tool utilized by so many civilized world today. What you see happening today is politically orchestrated. First and foremost, let's not forget that in 2019, you had then governor of Imo State, Rochas Okorocha. There was nothing as such happening today at the time in Imo State. You had Governor Guru. There was nothing like this happening in Imo State. No killing. There was no back and forth fighting with, military and some people called unknown gunmen. Emeka Ihedioha became governor in Imo State. There was no such thing. Willie Obiano was governor of Anambra State. You still have Dave Umahi as governor of Ebonyi State. You had Ikpeazu governor of Abia State. There was no killing or anything of such called unknown gunmen in the Southeast. All of a sudden, Supreme Court decided to upturn events in Imo State. The very first incident that became chaotic in the history of the Southeast was when Hope Uzodinma and Rochas Okorocha's fracas broke out, when Rochas destroyed the chain that was used to lock his estate that was alleged to have been, built by monies embezzled from the state government, public funds. Now, if we look at it, because I like to tell people, many times they call us riffraff, they call us all sorts of names. But one thing we fail to do is that we do not investigate before we come out and say things. It's okay to accuse IPOB because, yes, we were the one who first, declared a sit-at-home in the Southeast. But again, what happened? Who were the actors that blew out all these things out of proportion?
Are you a member of Ipob?
I'm a member, a very, very bona fide member of the indigenous people of Biafra.
I mean, do you live in the Southeast? How active are you?
I have lived in the Southeast. I have lived in most parts of Nigeria, but I'm currently in the United States.
Okay. So how active are you in the activities of Ipob? You look
Very
at
active.
you saw what?
Shown very, very active.
I mean, what can you tell us about Simon Ekpa?
Simon Ekpa is not a member of the indigenous people of Biafra, and I think this must be clear. I was giving you an antecedent of how all these things started. It started between Rochas Okorocha and Hope Uzodinma. You saw the people led by one Chinasa, one Neri, a Tog, a Black Ass member, which we know very well, a Yahoo person, who became the SSA to Rochas, to Hope Uzodinma, who took thugs to the property of Rochas Okorocha. That was where they had the first bloody attack. And ever since that time, you reported it on your news channels, ever since that time, there were so many brouhaha going on in the Southeast. Emeka Ihedioha was governor for 1 year. There was nothing like all of these killings anywhere in the Southeast until Hope Uzodinma came in and started using force because he felt that people did not like the way he came into government, And that's exactly what is to explain all of this. Because who are these unknown gunmen? The security agencies know these unknown gunmen. You cannot go to somewhere, go and dislodge some criminals and then put Biafra insignia there and say it is IPOB. No, it doesn't work that way. People should privately investigate all of these things.
All right.
People should investigate. Please.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
unfair to kill innocent people. Look at what happened a few days ago, flogging children. How would we ask people to go and flog children?
But
It's unacceptable.
you said that Simon Ekpa is not a member of IPOB.
He's not,
but
he has
the
never
recent
been a member.
but the
He has been
recent
a sympathizer of the Biafra movement. He has never been a member of the indigenous people of Biafra.
the recent orders are from Simon Ekpa asking,
Absolutely.
yeah, but people listen to him. So he's being perceived as the leader of IPOB at the moment.
That's exactly why I came here to debunk these lies that the government wants to be enabled on every platform. He has absolutely no control in the Southeast. Absolutely no control in the Southeast. What you've seen is partly people being scared of the mayhem that may occur, in the course of coming out. I mean, there were so many people who came out to do their businesses during this sit at home. People were busy filtering old videos as current situation in the Southeast. That is why I've asked channels. You can just get different individuals. You have 27 local governments in Imo State. These individuals are unknown. Just tell them to take their mobile phones on these stupid days. The idiot in pardon my language, please, is asking people to sit at home. Tell people to go out on the street and do private investigation. Then you, as a journalist, can now compare with what they are filtering on social media.
Stay with me. Stay with me, Hammer of God. Stay with me, Hammer of God, because since you have an identity as a member of IPOB, and you think that there are a lot of things that are going on, that you think don't represent the IPOB. Let's speak to the speaker in the studio and have Mr. Vince Onyekwelu, who is a former British police officer and a security consultant. Is the son of the soil, if you call him that. Thank you so much, Vince, for joining us on this podcast today. I wanted us to lay a premise, and that's why I wanted you to, and everyone listening or watching to be able to hear directly from people who are on the ground and tell their experience about the sit at home. But the worry is of violence. I'm not sure there is anybody that is averse to people having their grievances. As human beings, it's your right to have your grievance. But when it turns violence and it affects the lives of people and people are being killed, then there is a cause for worry. And there is a burden on the new federal government to be able to deal with this issue, that lives will no longer be lost or businesses being destroyed in the Southeast region. Let me get your view about this sit at home and the activities of Ipob.
Thank you for having me, and it's good to be here. Honestly, I think what we all need to understand that right now, these issues of criminality, of unknown gunmen, of violence in the Southeast could actually influence the whole country. Basically, initially, back in the days, we heard about how kidnapping started in the Southeast, and it was seen as a Southeast issue. And before you know it, they become copycat criminals, what we call copycat criminals. They copy, and they may not copy correctly, and they now deploy. The kidnapping became a national issue. Even bandits, herdsmen learned how to kidnap. Right now, this issue of sit at home should be seriously looked into by the federal government and by the state government also, so we can be able to understand the issues, the copycats, and how to resolve this issue, because it may actually linger into Kogi, Benue, and even come down to FCT. The bottom line that you've had an Ipob member categorically with his full chest said that he's a proud member of Ipob, and he's saying that Simon Ekpa is not an Ipob member, but rather a sympathizer. Now, in terrorism, we have different categories. We have the sympathizers, we have the foot soldiers, we have the sponsors, the funders, the planners. There are different players. Some of them are what we call sleeping cells. Some are informants. So they're all in the group of part of the terrorism cartel, but they might not be actively in the front line. So, like what happened in Anambra State, for example, yesterday, all through from Onitsha, through Mpo, through Ogidi, through Abagana, through Oka, through Amobia. It's only in Onitsha that people actually saw masked men shooting into the air right at the head bridge, by where you have the image of Colonel Ojukwu.
Yeah.
That's one place they saw people physically shooting into the air, but nobody was fired at. Nobody was shot upon.
Do we know who were the people, the identity of the people who were shooting?
Okay, it's a very good question, and this was the information I seeked also. Now, obviously, as human beings, when you see shooting, nobody wants to sit back to see if they
To
will
find
the
out.
faces of the persons, or everybody will be running away from the shooting. So obviously, nobody saw their faces. If you go down to Mpo, most of the transporters, the bus drivers that were moving away from Onitsha through Mpo, through Ogidi, carried the news of what was happening in Onitsha into all these other communities, saying that they are coming. Who is coming? Nobody knows who is coming. And people just heard the information, started to pack their shops, started running to schools to pick up children. Then in Okuzo also, Okuzo Junction, there is also the physical presence of masked men also shooting into the air. In this situation, I have a colleague that was actually in a vehicle, but they did not stop them. These masked men did not stop them. They would just shoot on the air. They would say, go, 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 go. They did not fire.
Could this be, I mean, you being an operative, you've been on the field, and could this be an activity of the state or non-state actors?
Now, it could be neither. Number one, we have the AVG in Anambra State, very effective group of vigilantes working for Anambra State, very, very effective. But as the other caller said, that they cover their faces. So if you don't know who is who, and I think it's for their own safety. So when they finish their vigilante jobs, they don't go back to their communities and become identified for people to attack them. All right. So if you see people, a vehicle like they normally use a Sienna vehicles that they write AVG. If somebody else goes to take a Sienna vehicle and write AVG and marks themselves, how do you differentiate? Okay, that's a problem. Now, for you to know who,
and these AVG are armed.
They are armed with a particular kind of firearm.
A category of firearm.
Yes.
Allowed for the class of.
Exactly. They don't carry your normal
AK-47 and
the
and
popular
likes.
AK-47 or any other what they call
Sophisticated
automatic
arms,
automatic rifles.
rifles.
They don't use automatic
I mean,
rifles.
how devastating, because I like to use that word to describe the impact of the sit at home. How devastating is the sit at home to the economy of the Southeast?
Now, the sit at home is a very serious impact to the economy of the Southeast on one hand. On the other hand, if you understand how the soul and the spirit of a Southeasterner, they have this no-die attitude. So the way Monday has gone off the table, they've now introduced Sunday as an active day of business. Some of them, not all of them. So they use Sunday to compensate for Monday. And many people even say that on Mondays, that most of their husbands, these are women saying that they get to spend time with their husbands, with their men in the family, because normally most traditional Igbo traders take off from Monday all through to Saturday and rest only on Sundays. And Sundays you go to church in the morning, you may have a village meeting, town meeting, age grade meeting. So they don't even get to spend time with their men. So even Mondays now has become a day that Igbo men get to have some rest, get to have some time with their families, watch movie in the morning, drink pap and akara, afternoon eat bitter leaf soup. They even get to mingle with the family by even sitting on Monday. So it actually harsh on the economy, but it's also good for their health and mental health that they can now spend time with their families.
But what about the fear, the psychological effect of it? The fact that some people now live in fear of the unknown.
Now, the psychological fear, I must obviously, being someone who understands organized crime, you need to understand what's going on. The idea of sit at home does not pose any threat to you as a human being. What they're saying, use this particular day to sit at home instead of going to do all their peaceful protests that result in live bullets being used against innocent people. Sit in your house. This business was opened by you. No government gave you grants or loans. It's your business. It's your electrical shop. It's your mechanic shop. It's your building material shop. Sit in your house. Rest. For us to tell the federal government that we are unhappy for the fact that you arrested one of ours, being Mazi Nnamdi. And the sad part of it, which obviously you can correct me better, is that a competent court of law found out that Mazi Nnamdi is innocent and asked for him to be discharged from the cell. But some people, some powers that be refused to release him.
Do you think that a release of Nnamdi Kanu will resolve all of this violence going on in the East?
what I think is we have a judiciary in Nigeria. And if a competent court, being a Supreme Court or appeal court, says this man should be released, we should not do sentimental or emotional analysis about if we release him, if that will be safe for him or not. A court has said, release him. And you should release him. That is the court of law saying that.
So, if you notice something, during the election, there seems to be a very, there was an inactivity of Ipob during the election. Was this deliberate? And that those who believe that, well, maybe activities of Ipob was political, because how come during the elections, and you see how in the Southeast, in the presidential election, there was a massive voting for Mr. Peter Obi, who is, from the Southeast. And there are those who put one or two together and say, maybe that is the reason, is some kind of camaraderie or what? How do you explain that?
Personally, I was in the Southeast during the presidential elections, and I knew the fear of the sit-at-home affected politicians from their campaigning. Most politicians did not even campaign enough towards the presidential, senatorial, and House of Reps elections because of the fear of the unknown. They do more like what they call, you go to a community, you call a small meeting, a small gathering, off the major streets to avoid making so much attracting the unknown. So that's how they ran their election. The issue of voting, the Southeast voted, the percentage of voting is, I think, one of the worst in the history of presidential elections because of the issue of fear. So I'm not sure any person got an advantage or disadvantage. People were scared. Lots of people did not even come back home to vote in the Southeast because of the fear of the unknown. But let's say something here, very something. There was an issue that came up about a month ago about a gentleman called Asari Dokubo. He made a statement that as somebody who understands security, I've been thinking about that statement, that he provided security to the Southeast. He provided security on the Abuja-Kaduna Expressway. He said this on video. Now, the question is, what is Asari Dokubo talking about providing security to the Southeast, to Kaduna, Abuja Expressway? A lot of people are asking questions. Is Asari Dokubo, this is a question, I'm not making an allegation. Is Asari Dokubo behind this so-called unknown gunmen? Because the Ipob man has said to us that unknown gunmen has nothing to do with the Ipob. So anybody who...
So, unknown gunmen, how would you describe them for someone who is from the Southeast, who is the security? Because there are a few times that people have tied and say, oh, Ipob, unknown gunmen, they're all the same, and they're politically oriented.
Now, in terrorism in Nigeria, we try to miscategorize terrorism. You see a pickpocket or an armed robber goes to do an operation, and we call them terrorist attacked. Kidnappers do an operation, we say terrorists have attacked. So we now elevate everybody to a high level that bring fear to you, and they're enjoying that fear they command, because with that fear you respect them more. With that fear, you don't try to repel or to counter-attack them. So the fact is, anybody can be unknown gunmen. A collection of members of a confraternity can decide to terrorize you, to scare you, and you call them terrorists, you call them unknown gunmen. Asari Dokubo's men, if what he's saying or the allegation is saying that he has security men in the Southeast, can be unknown gunmen. Any confraternity, or what you call the secret court, I call them confraternities.
So would you say that people took advantage of the security situation in the Southeast to perpetrate crime?
Hugely. There are so many players in the field. There are political players in my own thinking. There are confraternity players in my own thinking. There are other social devices of criminal activities in the same player. So it's a confused platform. And even the AVG, as much as they are very effective, but their way of dressing, masked faces, you see only their eyes, anybody can copycat them.
Where is Ebubagu in all of this?
The Ebubagu, I call them Ebube Mosquito. We don't know who they are. And obviously, if they are part of the unknown gunmen, it's for them to decide. But in Anambra, there's nothing like Ebubagu. The last word about Ebubagu was anywhere somewhere around Imo, and more like in Ebonyi State, mostly in Ebonyi State.
So it's not really effective as it should be.
Ebubagu died the moment my respected friend, the elder brother of Governor Omahi, the retired General Omahi, said that he's not going to be the chairman of Ipob. And that's when I lost respect for Ipob, because that was a gentleman that was supposed to be the chairman of Ipob. But when he pulled out, I sensed that he pulled out because he knew something was wrong. And I think that was the death of Ipob for me as an individual.
There are a few political figures. For example, in your state, Anambra State, Senator Ifeanyi, who got very upset and said, no, our people cannot be subjected to leaving their business. It's impacting on their lives. And he got really upset that, look, if you are going to order a sit at home, order it in your own state. Don't bring it to our state. How would you, what do you have to say about that kind of?
Senator Ifeanyi is a wonderful man. He had a very tough experience. The day he was shot at Nkwa Enugu, I was physically present at Nkwa Enugu the day he was shot, and I knew it was a nasty experience for him. And he's been very proactive, providing security for his constitution in Nnewi, and in that area, he's been very proactive. And I think we can copy a lot from Ifeanyi and what the kind of security architecture set up in Nnewi, cameras in all the entrances. And for me, if you ask me, I know Enugu State very well. I know Anambra State very well. There are things that happen in those areas that you will weep tears. I've been a victim many times. Many young people are shot dead, and they are automatically labeled to be members of unknown gunmen or members of Ipob, and nobody will do a forensics. Now, yesterday, some days ago, a so-called Ipob camp in Eziowele, or so thereabout, was raided, and I saw men on uniform going there, and I saw somebody taking a video, and he was telling, he was speaking vernacular. Why are they burning that place? Why would you go to a site of a so-called Ipob hideout and all you do is burn? While I was in the service, we will go on our knees and on our hands. We go to the floor and pick every cigarette butt there, every butt of Indian hemp, every used sachet water. We pick this so we can now be able to lift fingerprints off them. So we can now go to the cells, those that we arrested in the cells, or those who are arrested in the future, can be able to match their fingerprints to start get a picture of who is there or who wasn't there. Now, those that were shot dead, all they confirm, these are criminals, these are terrorists, these are Ipob, these are unknown gunmen. But nobody does a forensic to leave their fingerprint, put them on the BVN database, put them on the...
A bad policing job, isn't it?
Put them on telephone database to find out who are these people, so we can actually know their background, know their link, know their association, know their colleagues, so we can be able to attack the root. But all they do, kill them, put them in the police truck, take their pictures and bury them. That is bad. And you can't say it's a bad policing job. It's a bad national security job, because most people that kill them may not be police. It could be civil defense, it could be vigilante, it could be the military. So you cannot say it's only police job.
What is a likelihood of what could happen if the Southeast sit-at-home issue is not properly handled?
It could envelop Nigeria, number one. Number two, copycat criminals across Nigeria are monitoring, because this terrorism, just like what happens in the Northeast, every petty criminal is called a terrorist, and it gives them this ghostly, powerful presence that once they come through on the air, you just run. Even the men on uniform will also run because they think it's terrorists coming. So your petty criminals can even take advantage of being a terrorist to be able to do a successful crime work and run away. So it could be copycatted across Nigeria. People will learn from them and perpetuate criminality in their areas. It's also important for the government to respect the rule of law, to release anybody that court says you should release, and then find other charges if you have. But when they say release Nnamdi, release him. Don't bring emotions or statement that should we or shouldn't we. The court says release him. Release him. If the court says release a politician or a senator, you're going to release him. So why not Nnamdi?
So if you look at it now, we have a new government in place, and all the scenario played out in the times of President Muhammadu Buhari. Now President Buhari is no longer the president. We have a new president, at least within the time frame that the politicians are in court and are challenging the outcome of the election. But we have a president right now, a new administration in place. If you look at it, would you say that the new NSA, the new president, how would you say they should handle or what will be the first approach for them to handle this situation?
The first approach is I have this high level of trust on the new NSA. I have this high level of trust on the new president because he's somebody who has a unique thinking capacity. He's not somebody who is from a purely army background that just wants to be strict. He's not rigid. He's open. So I think the way he has released Abba Kyari and giving him bail from detention at the
court actually issued him a bail on one of the cases, but dependent on how the other case goes.
Yes.
But he's still in custody.
Yes. Okay. So he's still in custody.
Yes.
Okay. So I think I would suggest, Mr. President, give Mr. Nnamdi, release him. If he's going to call it a bail, get him out of prison, and then get this sit at home out of the way. I am convinced that Nnamdi out of prison will definitely, or hopefully, I would say, stop the issue of sit at home, so there can be other avenues for them to resolve what is the story about Nnamdi.
What about the arms and ammunition that is now proliferated in the southeast? How do you mop that up?
The arms,
because I assume, I'm not a security expert, but the kind of violence that is unleashed in that region, it looks to me that there is a whole lot of arms and ammunition that is everywhere.
Let me give you obviously somebody who I'm a local in the southeast. We have issues of young men, confraternities. We have issues of your petty criminals. We have issues of unknown gunmen, and then we have issues of men in boots that randomly kill young people in the southeast, and they will tell you that I will shoot you dead, nothing will happen. I'm talking about men on boots, uniformed men. So you have different players here. I'm thinking the southeast does not have that cachet of dangerous firearms. Yes, they do, but they don't have that large cachet because they don't have where to import them from. They are not close to any national borders to import them from. So whatever you get in the southeast must have traveled either from other parts of Nigeria into the southeast, because they don't have national borders like you have in other parts of Nigeria. So what they have there is minimal. It's not automatic. It's not even semi-automatic. It's double barrels they have. And then the petty, what we call Oka made, the fake ones that is made locally. Obviously, the issue of confraternities fighting over there, or issue of Yahoo boys fighting about money that was not shared properly when you try to swindle somebody about money you made from those kind of business. So I think they don't have a large cachet. What came in there came from other parts of Nigeria because they don't have national borders to import from.
It appears that the governors need to come together again and rethink the Southeast security. Or what do you think?
Southeast security is going to be more dicey because now you have a Labour governor in Abia State, you have an APC governor in Imo State, you have an APGA governor in Anambra State, you have a PDP governor in Enugu State, and an APC governor in Ebonyi State. So you have about 4 different political parties
in 5 states.
In a 5-state of Southeast. There's no other part of Nigeria that has this kind of unique composition of political parties. So I hope they can be able to take politics away and see the common value of bringing the Southeast together. And I think they need to also employ people that understand internal national security better. Because for Anambra State, they have about 9 exit points and 9 points to go out. Why can't they secure this with face recognition cameras so you can know who came in and who left? How difficult is it? But they just want to employ people that will say, yes, sir, yes, sir. They can say, sir, this is not right.
There are traditional rulers. There is Obi of Onitsha. There is, remind me of all the first-class traditional rulers in the Southeast. Could they play any role, though?
See,
because these are local issues, too.
The traditional rulers in the Southeast, yes, Obi Onitsha is the one we know. Yeah, but I don't want to go there. But let's say that we have other traditional rulers across the Southeast. That when you come to what we call Nzuko Monna, we know who will break the kola nut for us. You understand me? So let me not go into that. But the bottom line is the traditional rulers are not giving enough support. I have Igwe Okekuche. I am the third of my community. Does he get support from the state government? No. They look at more at their PGs, what we call president generals, because they are loyal party men. So most of the political parties want to work with the PGs.
Are you saying that perhaps in the northern region of the country, Sultan, is not only a traditional figure, he's a religious figure. In the southwest, you have the Oni of Ife. Is also a religious leader in that sense. You have the and we see the likes of Obi of Onitsha as perhaps a number one traditional ruler in the south. Are you saying that the Obi of Onitsha doesn't have what it takes, or his tool does not have what it takes, or the people do not listen to traditional institution again in our society?
Igwe Achebe, Obi of Onitsha, is a wonderful leader. But the structure of the society in Anambra State does not give him that role to play. So if that role is there, how come Onitsha ran away yesterday? Yesterday was nasty in Onitsha. Parents were rushing to schools to pick their children.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Ebonyi State.
Yes,
in some part of Enugu State on on Monday.
Yes, Enugu shot about 4 people were killed dead, were shot dead. We don't know if they are innocent or if they are criminals. All we heard that they died because of superior firearms of the so-called security agencies. We don't know if they're innocent people.
If you were President Tinubu, what would you do today?
I'm going to sit down with the traditional rulers of the Southeast. I'm going to sit down with the governors. And I've heard a governor saying, release Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. And I believe traditional rulers in Anambra State or in the South will say, release Mazi Nnamdi Kanu to us. So if you ask for him tomorrow, we can release him back to you. Get him out of that prison because the court has said, release him. So that's what President Tinubu should do. Call that meeting of state governors in the Southeast, traditional rulers in the Southeast, and even maybe the PGs of the Southeast. And then I think in Anambra State, I must say something, we have a unique CP of police, Echeng, a wonderful police officer, and he knows what he's doing. That is why Anambra State calmed down. Governor Soludo has been up there in the issue of security in Anambra State. He's doing a good job in Anambra State. But the hands that the players in the field can be very confusing. At times, they're coming from Imo State. At times, they're coming from Delta State. At times, they're coming from Kogi State. It's confusing. But if the president said, release Mazi Nnamdi Kanu today, trust me, there will be a percentage drop on the issue of criminality. People like Simon Ekpa cannot influence minds anymore. People like Emma Powerful cannot influence minds anymore. These unknown gunmen cannot attack anymore because Mazi Nnamdi Kanu comes out. He can be able to control these mixes and reduce
he has that power.
He has that power and that charisma and that influence. But because of his absence, there are so many black hands or black legs trying to play on the table to become influential or to become relevant. Release Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, there will be a significant drop on all these issues of unknown gunmen and sit at home.
But don't forget that Ipob has been proscribed for several years in Nigeria by the courts. And you look at it in that way, how technical these things are going to be. Releasing Nnamdi Kanu is his constitutional right if the courts do not find him guilty of any offenses against the state. And you look at it again that the operation of Ipob would it still be in continuity because the court has said it's a terrorist organization.
If the court said that Ipob is a terrorist organization and we accepted and labeled them as so, a competent court has also said release Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. So we should release him automatically, or else that prescription of being a terrorist organization does not stand.
All right.
In the same court.
Yeah. Let's quickly get a few more reactions. And I'd love to hear, if you'd like to ask the speaker, Mr. Vince Onyekwelu, some questions, please, you can do so. But I'd love to hear your own experience, especially for those who are living or those who have any experience or who directly know anybody who's had experience in the Southeast region and they have been impacted by the sit at home and the implications that has caused the region. Let me allow a few people. I'd like you to help go straight to the point. Hit it under 30-40 seconds so that we can get as many people to speak on the stream. Let's get Mazi Nzeako at Kano. Let's get you to your intervention. Your mic is on, Mazi Nzako. Are you there? All right. If you're not available, let's get at Duji at Ibe Kemed. Are you there? Duji, you can go ahead.
Yeah, we were muted actually.
All right.
Good evening. Good evening, sir. Good evening, Shaun.
Yeah.
Okay, let me first ask a question. The young man that was speaking, good evening, sir.
Good evening, bro.
My question would be, like I was hearing, releasing Nnamdi Kanu and the problem will be solved, releasing Nnamdi Kanu and the problem will be solved, the whole gun brandishing and otherwise. I would like to remind us that the sit at home was actually invented by Nnamdi Kanu, introduced by Nnamdi Kanu. They sit at home and on its own. And then the guns that have been brandished, Nnamdi Kanu was the person that masterminded the serial jailbreak and was, leading people and advising them on how to attack the police, the military, kill them and take their guns and otherwise. So if we could remember how all these things started, who was masterminding the whole attacks and all the things, how do you please want to assure everybody that when Nnamdi Kanu is released that these things that he started will stop? My second question is, our governors are saying Nnamdi Kanu should be released. That's what the leaders are saying. But mind you, the first release Nnamdi Kanu got in 2017, the likes of Engineer Baribe and two other persons were shorty for him. And when Nnamdi Kanu absconded, none of these people said anything anymore, and Southeast was left on its own to battle Nnamdi Kanu's calamities. So, I mean, how do you please assure us now that when Nnamdi Kanu is released, that this things will stop?
Let me allow you to
in mind that he actually started them.
Yeah,
thank you so much, Mazi.
Thank you so much. Quickly, number one.
Actually,
when the state governors of the Southeast are saying the same thing in unison, release Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. The traditional rulers of the Southeast are saying release Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. You see, we have a proverb that says that when a child is crying and points at a direction, if his mother is not there, his father is there. It's a proverb, and you should understand what I'm saying as an Igbo person. Now, secondly, about Nnamdi Kanu leaving the country after he was given bail, I think it's a route I don't want us to go, because I would have asked you, how did he leave Nigeria? What passport? How did he get his passport? Because if you're under bail, you're supposed to take your passport off you and keep somewhere safe by the security agencies. How did he get his passport? How did he leave? So let's not go there.
Please, I am.
We are all muted,
and I heard. Yes.
Go ahead, Mazi Nzako.
So, good afternoon, everybody. Good morning, wherever you are. There is a saying in our place that says, when an elder stands up to dig up a yam, a tuber of yam in the ground, he will end up cutting it and will end up going down on his knees to get the remnant of those yams. Nnamdi Kanu or whoever, am I powerful or whatever, if we do not deal with the fundamental issues, we will end up breeding, killing Nnamdi Kanu today, kill whoever. People will still rise up tomorrow. The foundation is faulty. We have to deal with the issues. We can't continue to behave like we don't know what the issues are and keep sailing on top of the water. That's not how a country behaves. That's not how to build a nation. What we have in Nigeria is indigenous people. We don't have a nation. We don't have a country. Until we begin to build citizens who will definitely become nationals, then we start thinking of nationhood. The foundation that led to all these calamities needs to be dealt with. It is an idea. It is not something that just floats out from the air. It is an idea. Deal with the issues. Go to the root. Deal with the issues and everything will die out. I can't extend my hand to shake somebody and they're giving me a backhand and you expect me to be happy. Even if it's you, you're not going to be happy. Let us go to the foundation, and we all know what the foundation is. Until that is done, these things will not stop. These things will not stop.
All right.
I write an exam with you, Shehu, and you are a different ethnic group, and I'm of an Igbo extraction. You can get an admission with a lower point, and I can get admission with a higher point. We don't want to say the truth until we begin to tell ourselves the truth. These things can never stop. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mazi Unzako. Let's get, thank you so much. In the same breath and manner, let's get the interaction very precise, concise, and straight to the point. Let me bring in, okay, we've heard from him. Adebisi at Ibirogba 2000. A quick one, please. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, Sheung. Good afternoon, everyone on this space. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. First off, I'm just going to speak to the topic. I will leave the happenings in the Southeast to the people there and all of the people concerned. But for the topic, will Tinubu succeed in containing the crisis? For him to succeed, the solution will have to come from the people. The people have to be honest without mincing words, because no matter the communication normally is supposed to be a two-way traffic. Actually, yes. However, but the communication should actually start with all honesty from the Southeast, because I'm hearing everybody saying Kanu should be released. Kanu had been released before. When it was granted the bail, was given bail the last time, the court added a condition to it, which was that he shouldn't have a gathering of more than 5 people. But he went about flouting that. He felt he was untouchable and he was doing all he liked. You know, people, because we might have suddenly forgotten all that history. You know, nobody was pulling him back and cautioning him that, come, you are going out of line. You know, eventually we knew how that one culminated. You know, so whichever way, I would say that the people they have to come out to be honest and to criticize it honestly, that terrorism must stop. Because you can pass the buck. I recall also, I'll quickly chime this one in. Sunday Igboho situation, when he wanted to start the Yoruba Nation people, we came out and we condemned it. I'm not saying everybody, but at least the large majority condemned it. And he couldn't find a voice. Eventually was thinned out, and nobody is calling for any form of anything wherever he is right now. You know, so the honesty must come from the majority of the people there, that this thing must stop. We are not going in. We are here together. We are all staying. We all have this country together. We are here. But when the majority are hiding under this one and carefully saying, release Kanu for us, release Ipob. Let me tell you this one quickly, which many people didn't say anything. During the course of the week, when the heat was so much in the kitchen in the Southeast, the Ipob people had to go and be protesting. It was so funny. The Ipob people went to go and be protesting in Norway against Samuel Ekpa, because Samuel Ekpa has taken over the structure of the Southeast. The other people might not tell you the truth, but that's just the truth. He's taken over the structure. They listen to him more, and it's now becoming a situation where it happened during the time of the Masob leader. You know, when the Masob leader was detained, eventually Kanu gained a voice, and he became the voice we were all running after. Eventually, now the same thing is now playing out. Simon Ekpa is now taking charge. Kanu, eventually, maybe if he comes out, nobody listens to him again. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. So let's just get it clearly. There was a case in the court where the court actually, let me read it out so that we can get it clearly. There is the case in the Supreme Court, and the lawyers to Nnamdi Kanu, led by Mike Azikwe, have been asking they applied for bail and that they should transfer his custody from the SSS to Kuje Correctional Center. But since May that sitting held, it has then been deferred to September. But this is what we need to also understand. The federal government appealed the last year decision of the Court of Appeal dismissing the terrorism and treasonable felony charges against Mr. Nnamdi Kanu. And Mr. Nnamdi Kanu was retaken into custody of the DSS and the lawyers. The case is now before the application for his bail is now before the Supreme Court to hear. And one of the points made by Mr. Azikwe was that the Nnamdi Kanu's health is fast deteriorating. So also we need to understand that the fact that the matter is before the court, the application for his bail is also before the court. But before I bring back Mr. Onyekwelu, let me get a few more people to interact. There is Isaac Obinna as Zakobi 5. You have the floor now.
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me, please?
We can hear you. Go ahead, please.
Okay, I'm just, giving my own view of things as someone who lives here in the Southeast. The truth of the matter remains that this whole IPOB thing is crippling the Southeast. The killings, the fear, everything is crippling the Southeast, not just the economy, but it's making things worse for us in the Southeast. I don't know what they tend to gain. Okay, fine and good. Yes, it is fact actually that we have some criminal politicians and other criminal elements that are trying to take advantage of all this their sit at home. But as this IPOB, they claim they are the indigenous people of Biafra, they love we, the Igbos and all that. For the sake of Igbos, you know that you are claiming, like I think the guy Hammer, the IPOB guy here, says something, Hammer of God. He said criminals are taking advantage. I think he also told that line. Now, you know this is happening. Why not change your style for the sake of innocent Igbos? Stop the sit at home. If you know these people are taking advantage of your whole sit, the whole sit at home you are doing, and the whole ESN thing to kill people, kill innocent people, and then destroy places, why not change? Look for something else to do. Come out. If you say you are not with Simon Ekpa, we have not seen you come out to with a press statement, not just press statement. Come out, grant maybe an interview or whatever thing, and say, look, there is Ipob forbids, or maybe say Nnamdi Kanu's lawyers can do this. Say, from today henceforth, there is no more sit at home. Anybody you see enforcing this thing to kill the Southeast, we are not with that person. But they kept quiet. That is to tell you that they are in one way benefiting from this, or they believe that this thing is helping them push their own agenda. I do not understand where they are going with this. Right. Now, okay, Shehu, you said something. You said something about the whole elections, and then IPOB did not disturb during the election. I was here. I voted here in Owerri. I didn't vote. I didn't vote in my village, but all these village side, all these village areas, and all that. During the elections, there was heavy military presence. So I don't think there was any opportunity for anybody to come out and say no election. But if you check the places where votes came out more for the APC guys was where we had serious insecurity problems, where people did not vote. Then where am I going to? The Southeast politicians themselves are benefiting from this insecurity. If you come to Imo State, and I'm going to tell you for a fact, I know for a fact that the governor of Imo State, which is Hope Uzodinma, would not want insecurity in the Southeast, in Imo State, to end, because in this coming election, November, if insecurity continues, it would favor him. If people are free to vote, it will not favor him and his party. So the Southeast politicians also know what they are doing. If they want to stop insecurity in the Southeast, they know what to do. They have the power, they have everything. They know how to dialogue and everything, but they do not want it to stop because they are benefiting one way or the other from it. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I know, Armor of God, I'll bring you in a moment, but let me get one or two more persons to speak. I know that Olu at Emperor 24, please, let our intervention be very quick. Olu, please go ahead. You have the floor.
Good evening, Hashem. Good evening, everyone, especially from UK. I've listened quite to some people. Yeah, we are making a point. It's a very good topic. We need to speak to our borders.
The topic, let me just go straight, Shehu. Don't let us be using a word of deodorant to speak to the truth, to the fact. Releasing my brother Nnamdi Kanu is with us here in the UK for several years, even before the IPOB of his stuff started. There are so many challenges. We go to the embassy together to protest on different matters, not even the IPOB. Yeah, he's a very lovely man, and he's a factual man. He talks to the point of everything. But in the journey of these years, I see that the moment he take the step of IPOB, everything become change. You know, he may be carrying a genuine mission to achieve something so great. And so many people, they have not eaten, they are not fed well, they are not educated, they are not distant, they are criminal minded. They will jack it to something else. Exactly what is going on now. So releasing Nnamdi Kanu, it will not change anything. Keeping him, it will not change anything. The only thing that can change something is to start for the fundamental problems of the problem. What is the grievance? Look at the southeast today. Compare it to southwest, to the north, to Kaduna, to all these things. Look at all these development, corruption, all these things. You don't speak to your local government. You don't speak to your senator, your rep, your governors, all these things. They embezzle all this money. No infrastructure, nothing.
All right.
Now, upon all this suffer, let me just end it this way. Upon all this sufferness and everything, you don't speak to them. You are not holding them responsible. Now, what you want to do, you are now adding more salt to it. Who want to invest this money in a fetish place? Your room is dirty. You are inviting a foreigners to come and sit there to come and eat with you. You can't compare Lagos State or some other southwest development infrastructures going on there to compare to your state. You are terrorizing your own people because of one goal. Please, we need to desist from and do something better for ourselves.
All right. Thank you so
I
much.
love Nnamdi Kanu.
Yeah.
I want him released. Everything, they should talk to the fundamental problem. Please. Thank you.
Let me take one more. Then I'll go to Armor of God and come back to our speaker, Mr. Vince Onyekwel. At Oshun First Son.
Hello.
Oshun First Son. Yeah, please.
Good evening. Hope you are hearing me.
We can hear you. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. About the topic today. The truth about it is, if you are the type that grew up in Southeast, you would have known that the problem started long before Nnamdi Kanu. I can remember 1998, 1999. Some people sold that 2000 there won't be anything in Nigeria. People started changing money. I grew up in Fege in Onitsha. People started changing money that by 2000 there won't be anything called Nigeria. Nnamdi Kanu is, after Mozop sold out, Nnamdi Kanu is another, the IPOB and Nnamdi Kanu is another sellout that after Mozop could not sell again, people change their life and money. I'm hearing Amma talking. If, like my friend, Baba Onisi and Agiliga, if he hear Nnamdi Kanu, he will cut his head. That's the truth about it. He will cut his head because he's a disgrace. The man sold almost all his property, hoping that in 2000 there won't be anything in Nigeria. After everything is common paper they gave them. They give people common paper that can't change to anything. And someone is telling me that IPOB and Mozop or anything, Biafra is wrong. Is fucking lie. These people have been using, they have been using Instagram and make a lot of money, convert money. Nnamdi Kanu will end. Even if EPA ends today, because the kind of money he's making, another person will rise up again and start selling out again, and people will buy into it. That's the truth about it. Nothing like say if people that is shouting that they should release Nnamdi Kanu is fucking lie. Is seriously is lie.
Please,
Even if they release
mind the use of the word, the F word, yeah, please.
No, I'm just no, sorry for that. But I'm just talking through my mind. Even if they release Nnamdi Kanu today, this thing will continue because he's a sellout. People make a lot of money from this. They have been making money, and it didn't start from the years people are shouting. I grew up in Fege in Onitsha. People change serious money on that 2001 happened. The truth about it is that the criminality happening in Southeast, let me just tell you something. The criminality that is happening in Southeast has always been there. If you are in Onitsha 2000 or 2003, daybreak like this, daybreak, everybody is seeing criminals, both bank and everything, they rob there. It's not matter of this thing. And you not give some people that is waiting to criminalize somewhere, and you give them opportunities that sit at home.
Yeah.
What do you expect?
Right.
They will continue.
All right, thanks.
Sorry.
Hammer of God, let me bring you back. Then I'll return to our speaker in the studio. You said that you're a member of Ipob, but I'd like to remind you that Ipob has been proscribed. So just to remind you, what would you like to say in all of these conversation? And I mean, more importantly, is ending the loss of lives and the criminality in the Southeast region.
Thank you very much, Sean. First and foremost, if you lie, you will die. If you say the truth, you will die.
Quote Dino Melaye. That is attributed to Dino Melaye.
So the truth is that I think that we've been, as what was it Bob Marley that said, mental slavery. We've been pushed to the wall to the extent that we believe that when we say the truth, somehow, they'll come and kill us. One of the things that I know that Nigeria doesn't have, and I am somebody who thinks that it's very important that Nigeria seek to have that type of institution, where there would be a department that investigates even when somebody coughs. It's very important. Very, very important. Where we would have record. Nigeria doesn't have record of anything. We're trying to gradually see if agencies can come into the digitalization of institutions where record can be kept in cloud, just like every other nation. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because it looks like so many people are just here to antagonize other people because of their belief system. I'm not one who will come and abuse people here because they are APC or they are. Yeah, I have abused governments, because of their incompetent attitude towards the development of the people. But what is fundamental is how exactly do you develop a nation? We cannot develop a nation by the style Nigeria have imposed on institutions around the territory of Nigeria. For example, people have said, do not release Nnamdi Kanu. They've also forgotten that it's not about them saying it. And releasing Nnamdi Kanu is not a favor. We're not asking for a favor as IPOB members. We are saying obey the law, obey the court's order by a competent court of jurisdiction. They said he fled bail. He did not. The records are there. All these things they are saying right here are even in courts. So I would not come and say anything because I don't want, like lawyers will say, so that it doesn't jeopardize the outcome of, the judgment. All these things are in courts. Courts have given pronouncements. One of the things that the Nigerian government has failed to do, and they still continue to fail to do, is just to obey simple judgment. You see that things would happen, and that's why I talked about fundamentals. Something would happen in Lagos. Somebody will go to Abuja and obtain an injunction. of stay of something that happened in a different state, and that's exactly what is affecting Nigeria. We have to go back to the fundamentals. Why exactly did we come up with IPOB in the first place? Everything that is happening now is not different from what had been happening before. I tell people that IPOB is just a resistance. It's a resistance to bad leadership. It's a resistance to all this reckless confusion, like Peter Obi will say, here and there. The people who come out to say that they were a security solution in the southeast and in the northern region have just come to expose themselves to how the government was deeply involved in everything that have been happening around Nigeria, most especially since APC came into power in 2015. For example, let's look at the case of what happened in Ifeanyi Ejiofor's house, Barrister Ifeanyi Ejiofor's house. If the cameras did not take those incidents, they would have said it was IPOB or it was ESN or it was maybe even unknown gunmen. Look at the other guy, Ugo Chinyere of CUPP. He has been interviewed on your program by your humble self, Sheung. He brought out the video, the CCTV of everything that happened in his compound in Imo State, because he was an opposition leader in Imo State, where Hope Uzodinma felt very threatened. They almost killed this young man, Ugo Chinyere. You know, when we come out to say certain things, we have to come here and put human face to it. We cannot continue to demonize people because of their belief system. If I believe in IPOB, you should ask me why. There are so many evidence.
So what do you think is the way forward, in just a sentence, so that we can quickly wrap up?
The way forward is very simple. We have to go back to the 1963 Constitution. It's as simple as that. It is regionalization. That's the only way that we can be assured that indeed our interest as not just Ndibo, but as the whole Eastern region can really develop, where you do not have people who, because they become military heads of state or heads of military departments, are now owning, oil wells. If you go to those areas of oil wells, the people who are indigenous of those places, by the way, I'm from Imo State. So when I talk about Imo State passionately, I know what I'm talking about. You know, if you go to places like all the Jollands, you go to all those places around the River Rhine area, you can't even fish there anymore. But yet somebody came out to say that he will kill all the Igbos. Before the elections, he came out brandishing AK-47. Nobody arrested him. No wonder he was working for the federal government. If you look at that video very well, somebody was trying to tell him, no, don't do that, don't do that. And he was telling him, come on, will you stop it? All these things were live on air. And I'm telling you, Sheung, we proudly support what ESN is doing. And ESN have absolutely nothing to do with what you people call, whether it is unknown gunmen and all these marksmen. If Nigerian government is very sincere, we brought out ESN for the sole purpose of eradicating the Fulani herdsmen from our bushes and from preventing our mothers and our children from going to farms. That was the fundamental reason we came out with ESN. Even before ESN was created, Nnamdi Kanu wrote through his lawyers, through the state government, to the state government. They should come out and deny it. The evidences are there. He abounds. He wrote through his lawyers to the state government to bring out a security architecture to protect people from being killed. But it fell on deaf ears, and we decided to come up with the Eastern Security Network just to do the same thing they could not do. And when they saw that it was gaining wave, they said they would bring out a similar security distance just to counter ESN. That was when they brought out the Bubago and the Bubarose. Look at what the security guy here just said. And that was exactly what came to my mind when General Umahi, removed himself from the whole Ebubago arrangement, because he did not trust the entire foundation of how this arrangement was going to be done. He left. Now, I can tell you without missing words that Ebubago have been fundamental in the killings and many of the abductions that have been going on. Ugo Chinyere's deposited written statements are there all over the places. Not just Ugo Chinyere. There are so many people in Ebonyi State. There are so many politicians who said that the people who abducted him was Ebubago. That why would he be challenging the Ebonyi State government? You know, so please let people. I know that people are upset that maybe IPOB agitation have resulted into some kind of fracas. It has absolutely nothing to do with IPOB. We have to make sure that whatever happens in the Southeast, we will not forget. Seun, I want to use this opportunity to say that, you see, every politician, every man, every woman who have been involved in the killing of innocent people in the Southeast, they will definitely get the repercussion of all these things. Because you cannot continue to kill people and use the name of IPOB just to tarnish IPOB, tarnish individuals, just to tarnish their image and say that the reason why people are being killed is because of IPOB. Meanwhile, they are all political.
So, I'm of God. Let's quickly wrap up now. Who is the leader of Ipob now?
The Nnamdi Kanu have been the leader of the indigenous people.
Now that he is in the custody of the federal government or the SSS, who is deputizing for him?
We have Mazi, my respected brother, who has always come out to debunk all of these things going on. You know, you have Mazi Chinasa, you know, who's part of the DOS, and you have several other people who are doing wonderful jobs.
So Simon Ekpa is not one of the leaders of IPOB.
Simon Ekpa has never been a member of IPOB. You have Mazi Edoziem, who is deputizing Mazi Nnamdi Kanu to make sure that everything we do, everything comes from the Directorate of State. Mazi Edoziem have always come on Radio Biafra to tell people what to do. All these sit at home have been cancelled from the second time it was observed after Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was renditioned from Kenya into Nigeria. That was one of the reasons why this sit at home became full force, you know, because why would you go to another country without following procedures, you know, to abduct somebody? The same thing you try to do.
I thought, I'm of God, I thought that since the federal government prescribed IPOB ceased to exist.
No, it cannot. You cannot go through the back door to go and obtain judgments and prescribe. On what basis? What is the essence? How do you justify terrorism? Terrorism is about insurrection. At the point that backdoor judgment was given, what were the reasons before which court? Before the court that granted that judgment, or that what do they call it again? To prescribe IPOB. You know, these are the things that have to stop. You cannot be taking injunctions here and there just because you want to settle political scores. You have to follow due process. You know, what is the process of obtaining what they obtained? What are the bases? What are the merits? You cannot just see somebody and call the person a terrorist. IPOB is registered here in the United States. IPOB is registered in the United Kingdom. IPOB is registered around the world. Why is the world not putting IPOB on their list of terrorism? They tried to do it with some professors in different universities around the world. We went to those professors. How exactly is it possible that you are prescribing IPOB? On what basis? They could not defend it.
All right, I'm of God. Let's leave it there, and let me come back to Vince. Where do we go from here? Your final thought.
Thank you so much. You know, I believe we are all Nigerians, and we have no other country right now but Nigeria. I believe that, number one, we have a fresh new president. We have a fresh new NSA, military chiefs, and IGP of police and others. Number two, I believe that these new fresh minds should look at issues from a fresh point of view. Number three, I believe that the rule of law should not be cherry-picked. Rule of law should not be selected when it suits me and rejected when it does not suit me. Rule of law should be followed 100%. That gives respect, law and order to the people. So I believe if the appeal court of the federal government of Nigeria has given a charge for Mazi Nnamdi Kanu to be released, I do not see the reason why he should be arrested again, and then that judgment of the appeal court being appealed upon. The onus is release him. So he has to be released, and then if the appeal is successful that he should be called back or detained again, then let it happen that way. Number four, I believe that the ideas of the governors of the southeastern states who are in the know, the ideas of the traditional rulers of the southeastern states who are in the know, the idea of Obi of nature and other leaders in the southeast as number one traditional leader in the southeast is for the release of Mazen Nnamdi Kanu to their custody. And if the federal government needs him back, they will provide him back. Nobody should be worried about, oh, the first time he ran away, blah, blah, blah. The first time, where was his passport? It was with the government. So how did the passport enter into his hands? How did he fly out of Nigeria by an airline that must carry anybody internationally with an international passport? So I think in conclusion, we can all resolve this in a table as brothers. Sunday Igbo, who I heard is about to return back to Nigeria, I respect him. And I believe also that Nnamdi Kanu should be released according to the Appeal Court of Nigeria State. Release him. He should be released. And then all these ghost players, Mr. Simon Ekpe will disappear once Nnamdi Kanu returns back. Other people that we don't know will disappear. The unknown gunmen will disappear. So I think the demon we know, as people may think that Nnamdi Kanu is a bad person, is a better option than what we're having now. We're having a confused situation where we don't even know the players and who they are sponsoring them. The return of Mazen Nnamdi Kanu, we clear off the table, then we can now have a serious discussion for him on how to move forward.
Well, what a conversation. I mean, this is for the good of Nigeria and the Southeast region and the people who are residing there. Thank you so much, Vince Onyekwelu, for coming. A lot of insight that you've shared with us tonight on the podcast. Vince Onyekwelu is a former British police officer and a security consultant. Thank you so much. And I must sincerely also thank everyone who has been part of it. But just before we go, everyone, I mean, it is clear the conversation and the line in which everybody has spoken, either you're an Igbo man or Yoruba man or Hausa man, wherever in this part of the country that you are from, it is clear that we really want peace. We are a peaceful people in this country. We have been listening to experiences of people who have been affected by the sit at home or that in the South. We have also got different sides of the story. It's obvious that the situation is a complex one. Harsh on the economy, bad for business. The sit at home order continues in the Southeast, and the fear amongst the residents in the region is palpable with rippling effect. There are no clear statistics or specifics on how the crisis in the region has affected the people there, but visuals from the region are disturbing and enough to show the deepening crisis. There are also notions out there that the crisis in the region may be politically motivated, which makes a security challenge more complex to solve. From the intervention here on the podcast, we have learned that the government must first of all unveil the unknown gunmen. Who are they? To unravel and understand the level of crisis we are dealing with here. Governors from the region have a lot of work on their hands and they have their work cut out for them. The traditional institutions must show cohesive